My name is Ed, and I'm a LaRusso-holic. It all began over 65 years ago when I met Tony LaRusso at the Boys Club of New York. We did a lot of shows together on that Boys Club stage, and I have been addicted to LaRussos ever since. I got hooked because Tony was a pusher, a friendship pusher. If he wants your friendship, you have no choice. You will have a friend for life, and you will be better for it. Trust me. To me, back then, Tony was a guy who seemed to know what he was doing, knew what he wanted to do. He wanted to dance, so he studied ballet. Now, on the Lower East Side in those days, ballet was not a popular sport. No, guys didn't dance ballet. But Tony wanted to dance, and he did. He and Brother Joe danced professionally off Broadway in New York and at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey. I admired that. He was somebody I could look up to, even though I had to look down to see him. I was taller. He gave me the feeling that I might be able to do what I wanted to do if I ever figured out what that was. I got invited to many a Sunday dinner at the LaRusso family table. What a picture. 8 Italians, Mama, Papa, Tony, Rose, Joe, Maria, Mike, and a true beauty whose name I can't remember. And one Polak, me. It was my first taste of genuine Italian cooking. There are differences between Italian and Polish home cooking. Well, for one, my father never reached under the table to pull out a jug of homemade wine. But basically, the real difference is simple. In Polish cooking, you get gravy. In Italian, you get sauce. At some point, things in my own home, became difficult. I got to be 16 and stupid. Tony took me in and erased as much of the stupid as he possibly could. I learned fast that if you wanted to do something, like study ballet or eat, you're going to pay for it. Tony worked construction just as his father did all of his life. And he made it clear that I'd better get a job. He didn't suggest that I work construction with him. I think it was because he knew I was gentle, sensitive, or because he knew I couldn't possibly lift a sledgehammer. And if I did, I'd get hurt. But I got jobs, lots of jobs, mostly typing, 75 words per minute. That and acting was my total skill set. But there was a time I got jobs with Tony and Brother Joe. I worked at a summer camp for several years as a waiter, working up to head waiter. I recommended them for jobs as maintenance guys. Now, a camp for kids had to have a registered nurse on duty. As I recall, Tony got sick or hurt just about every day that summer. The nurse, a nice lady named Marjorie Knecht, didn't seem to mind. I think she liked it. Brother Joe was hanging out with one of the office staff, a girl named, believe it or not, Natalie Schwartzapple. A name to remember. I hope she got married to somebody named Smith. But you know, she was the kind of woman that would call herself Natalie Schwartzapple Smith. Me? Oh, no romance for me. I channeled my passions into writing and putting on camp shows. Over the years, I watched that summer romance blossom into a family of 7. 5 children and 2 almost adult parents. To feed them and grow them, Tony did what a guy had to do. For a time, he made shoes in Johnstown, New York. But that wasn't good enough to put 28 shoes on 14 feet. I'll wait while you do the arithmetic. Instead, he studied hard to learn about something called computers. This was when the rest of us were still whacking away at adding machines and typewriters. Meanwhile, I finally found out what I wanted to do. I became a documentary and educational filmmaker. I wrote, produced, directed, edited, and even performed in some. During all of this, a lot of miles and years got in between us. But once Tony became a homeowner at Spotswood, New Jersey, thanks to a job as daddy manager at Johnson & Johnson, we reconnected. He stepped up to be my best man when I got married to Dodie. Over the years that followed, we were always welcome at Spotswood. Lots of happy years in Spotswood. Marjorie's spectacular Italian cooking. Remember Polish's gravy, Italian sauce. But the most special was being greeted by the kids. We would drive up and the kids ran to embrace us and pull us into the house, which smelled delicious. Nobody couldn't have children, and being swamped with such enthusiasm, such joy, such warmth, especially at Christmas, was more special to us than I can ever tell you. But ironically, after all the summer Sundays at the pool, all the Christmases, Tony and I hit a bad stretch. This was after the family moved to Moosic. Wasn't over money, though. Over the years, we made a few loans to each other. No, we had a difference on who should spend Christmas where. We were invited to Moosic, as usual. But the kids were pretty much grown, and we thought it might be a nice break for Tony and Marge to come to New York. No one gave in. Hurt feelings all around. Yeah, it was silly on both our parts. But, as they say, sic transit gloria mundi. That's Latin for so goes the glory of the world. Although I always thought it meant Gloria threw up on the bus of this Monday. Finally, at Laura LaRusso's wedding, our differences vanished. Tony took me to a quiet corner and reconnected us. Once again, as he did so many years before, he took me by the hand and brought me back into the family. So, Anthony, think of this as a thank you note for all the times you helped me find out what was best for me. Funny thing, Tony, we've been far apart in miles and in years, sometimes in ideas, but we always remained close. Now it looks like we're going to be apart again. I'm not crazy about that. But I am old enough to know it's possible to get tired of being tired, that it's possible to love life so much that you have to let it go when it's not so lively anymore. I'm sad, Anthony, yeah. But I choose to remember that you had a pretty long life, longer than many of the guys we grew up with. And it was a life you wanted for yourself, a life full of learning, laughter, friendship, and love. You know, I could wish the same for all of us. But ciao for now.